Hey, small business people and lovers of good stories in general. I am really excited to welcome you to episode 15 of Small Business War Stories, another episode in the Soul of America series. At this point, I was driving through northern Texas on my way to Oklahoma, and I stopped in Denton, Texas to sit down with Dave Williamson, one of the folks that started and currently owns CTC Auto Ranch, and that is a vintage car junkyard. When I set out to plan out the episodes for the Soul of America tour, I wanted to be really diverse. I'm a little bit of a music nerd, so there's a lot of music-related stuff, but I also wanted to have lots of different perspectives on the show, and this is certainly an example of that, in contrast to, say, last week when we were looking at Celeste, who made Savvy Root, who made handbags. So I'm really excited for you to learn about his story, about Dave's story, about what it means to run a vintage car junkyard and a junkyard in general. The Soul of America tour is brought to you by Impact Crates. They're made in the USA. They're dog crates. My dog, Muddy Waggers, traveled in an Impact Crate for the almost 4,000 miles that we traveled in to do the Soul of America tour. They're strong, safe, and secure. They're collapsible. They're really light. Every day I had to load and unload my car, and I did it by myself. I was able to take this fairly big crate that's very sturdily constructed of aluminum. I was also every day wearing Tecovas boots, which were handcrafted boots. It's a company based in Austin, Texas. And what they do is they make real handmade top quality boots for a fraction of the retail prices of competitors. They're able to do that because they sell directly to you without going through retail stores. It's Tecovas boots. That's TECOVAS boots.com. You can check them out. And we're also brought to you by Badger Mapping. Badger is the #1 app for field salespeople in the Apple App Store. And it's what I use to get from place to place during my trip. So if you have a remote sales force, this app kicks ass, and it basically does all the thinking for you, so you can plan out all your meetings, plan out all your routes without having to think about it. You can focus on selling. If you mention that you came in through Small Business War Stories, they will give you 2 free months. In any case, I am really, really excited, again, to share with you this episode. And this episode, like every episode, is also brought to you by Proven. Proven.com is a leading tool for small business hiring. And you can distribute your job to hundreds of different job boards. I shouldn't say that. It's over 100. It's not hundreds. Over 100. And you have thousands of customers nationwide. And that use us to post their jobs and do their hiring, collaborate with their team every day. And there's a free trial. I'm biased because I founded the company, but it works. It kicks ass, especially if you are on the move and you have a team that uses their phones a lot, and if you need to get your hiring done fast. Without further ado, I want to get into the episode because Dave Williamson talks about a lot of really cool stuff, the kinds of old cars that you have in there, and maybe some misconceptions that people have about junkyards. And he tells a lot of cool stories about where his customers come from, where his cars come from. And I hope you enjoy it. I will see you soon. Small Business War Stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes. And we are live here with Small Business War Stories in Denton, Texas. And I have the privilege today to sit down here with Dave Williamson of CTC Auto Ranch. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. This is quite the facility you have here. You drive up, just so our listeners can get an image. You drive up, and there are hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands. How many cars are there?
There's about 4,000 cars.
4,000 cars, and they're all older than 1970. Is that right?
Mostly 70s and older, yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's a beautiful. It's like this museum of like, rusting metal, and it's like pieces of art that are there. And we're gonna talk a little bit about how your business runs. But maybe tell me a little bit about, so how would you, you're obviously a junkyard for classic cars, and how did you guys get started? I mean, how do you go from whatever you did before to having a lot full of classic cars?
Well, we started about 1985, I think, wow. And we were in a town called Louisville.
Okay.
About 30 miles up the road. We did mostly restored cars.
Okay.
Okay. If you remember back in '85, the economy wasn't all that great.
Sure.
So we're selling, maybe a car or two a week, something like that. And, we had leased that property, and our lease came due, and we decided we wanted to own property. So we found this tract of land out here north of Denton on Highway 35, and we bought a 6-acre tract of it and moved our stuff out here. At the time, we had about 80 cars.
Okay.
Okay. So when we moved out here, we didn't start off in the salvage car business. We were still trying to sell cars and sell, other things as well. Trailers, trucks,
So
whatever.
a dealership. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever it takes to make a buck. And at the time, we had a 1947 Dodge pickup truck.
Okay.
That had been on my back line. It was just a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Been there forever. Nobody wanted to buy it. Tried to sell it for $300. Nobody wanted it. The back window been cut out with a torch. And
wow.
So, my brother had come up with a bright idea. He said, why don't we just put an ad in Hemmings Motor News and say we'll just sell some parts off of it, see somebody wants some parts off this thing. So we did that, and then in the next 30 days, we sold about $3,000 worth of parts off that old truck.
Out of the old truck, and
so that light flashed up and go, hey, maybe there's money in parts.
Yeah, just kind of break them all up.
Right.
That's awesome.
So, we started doing that, and we started buying some old, parts cars and things like that. And then a friend of ours up the road that had a late model salvage yard helped us get our salvage license.
Okay.
To the state.
What does that mean? What is a salvage license?
Well, that gives us the right through the state to sell parts.
Okay. So you can't. It's not just any Tom Jerry can start selling parts off.
No, if you start doing that, the state will come down on you, and you're doing a big no-no. And from my understanding, as far as I know, the state doesn't put out any more salvage license.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you have to buy it from somebody else. If
you'd have to buy an existing license. Yeah, you'd have to buy out an existing yard.
Wow.
So I think we were kind of the last one in Denton County, as far as I know.
Wow. So that's so the license itself is worth something then.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard of anybody selling one other than without selling the yard with it, but I would think so because they are transferable.
So how do you go from how many cars do you have? 80 cars.
I started with about 80.
Okay, so now you have 4,000 plus.
Yeah.
How do you get a car? I mean, how do they show up here?
At first we were beating the bushes, and we bought out some other old yards here in Denton that old guys have been there forever, and they wanted to get out. They were old and wanted to retire, and so we bought all their good stuff and left them with the crap, and we buy groups of cars here and single cars here, and people come to us and buy their car, or scrappers would normally take them to the scrap yard and smash them. We'd pay more for them, so they'd bring them to us, like that.
God, how much you usually pay for a car?
That just depends on the car. Everything's different, Unfortunately, there's no set price on cars like that. It just depends on what it is. Of course, I got to buy as cheap as I can because I'm not going to sell the whole car.
Right.
Some of them I may not never sell anything off of. Right. And others I'll sell, 2 fenders, maybe a hood. So it's not like I can pay $1,000 or $2,000 for a car.
Right.
And then then I couldn't make any money on it.
Makes sense.
So I've got to buy it kind of down there at scrap price.
Do you go pick it up from wherever, or the people? Because how many of these cars actually run?
Not a lot.
Okay.
Most of them we don't even know if they run or not. We don't care.
Right.
We don't check them.
Yeah.
Because if I sell you a motor, I'm going to just guarantee it to be rebuildable. I'm not going to guarantee it to run unless I've heard it run.
Makes sense.
But as far as hauling, we've hauled a lot of the cars ourselves. A lot of people bring them to us. It just depends on who it is.
Do you get cars mostly from Texas, or they come from far and wide?
No, mostly Texas and this part of this side of Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
I don't travel more than an hour to get a car. It's not worth my time.
Right, and there are probably plenty of them around here, right?
Well, they're getting fewer and fewer, but yeah, there was to begin with there was several, but most of them are here now.
Yeah. So tell me more about that. You've seen over the years, the last couple decades, you've seen the supply of cars go down.
Well, not necessarily. They've come down some, but we still get like for instance, we just bought a group of cars from a guy over in Decatur. We bought like 38 cars from him.
Georgia?
Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, 35 miles down the road.
Okay, got it.
But, we had to haul them all in, and that's, it takes time. It takes money.
So you have probably a couple flatbeds that you go pick them up in?
Well, I have a car hauler, then a pull trailer behind that.
Oh, wow.
And, so I can move 2 at a time, so it takes a while.
Yeah, I bet.
Absolutely. So
I bet. Cool. And you have people from all over the world who buy from you, right?
Yeah, we ship internationally for sure.
So what's some of the wackiest stories? You have people asking for parts from like Europe, Asia.
Oh yeah, I just sent some parts to Turkey.
Turkey.
Yeah.
What were people in Turkey buying?
They were buying Impala parts, like '69 Impala parts.
Wow. And what is it, like lights or mirror fenders? Like what? How big are these parts?
Well, now that I'm thinking about it, AC parts,
Okay.
stuff like that.
Wow. Okay, cool. So let's talk a little bit about the perception of having a junkyard, right? So what are maybe the some of the things that people think about a junkyard that may or may not be true? What are some of the myths and tales?
Well, around, in this kind of business, in this particular kind of junkyard, everybody thinks, oh man, I want to work there. That'd be great. That's, all those classic cars being around that all day long, that'd be so cool. They don't see the hard work on the other end of it.
Sure.
I mean, those parts don't fall off those cars.
Yep.
People aren't patient. I mean, everybody wants it now.
Right.
We're a small operation. We only have 1 or 2 parts pullers, 1 or 2 people packing parts.
Interesting.
I mean,
so how do you keep track of what you actually have? So you have all these cars.
We log them as we bring them in.
You log them as you bring them in.
And then we put them on our website.
And then do you have like a particular car? Do you have a file for like, okay, this car no longer has this, and that?
I don't know. But what we do is, like, if we pull a lot of parts off a car, then we'll bring it back up. We'll reshoot the pictures, repost it.
Oh, I see.
Try to keep up with it that way, but we really can't keep up with it. I mean, it's one of them deals where everybody calls. Well, I see it on your website. I know you got it. Yeah. Well, I took that picture a couple of years ago, so maybe it's not still there.
And you don't continually update all the pictures.
I can't. I have to. It's just I can't keep up with it. No. But so that's why, like I said, what we've tried to do in the last couple of years is when we bring a car up and pull parts off, we try to reshoot it and refresh the pictures.
So what's the process where somebody wants a part? Let's say somebody comes to your website and let's use the the fellow in Turkey maybe that with the '69 Chevy Impala. So they came and saw they needed a part, and then what do? You send somebody out, or you go out to the yard and look at the car and see if the part's still there?
Yeah, what I do is fortunately for us, our phone rings constantly all day.
Yeah. Actually, it's rang. I've been here for 20 minutes.
Right.
It's already rang.
So what I'm doing is when I answer that phone and they tell me what they need, I'm writing it down, writing their phone number down.
Yeah.
Then I'll go out, every hour or two, I'll go out and I'll look at all this stuff, then I'll come back and I'll call everybody back.
Yeah.
Tell them what I have. I'll shoot pictures of it. That way it goes. Nowadays, nobody can buy anything without seeing a picture of it. Right. I mean, nobody takes your word for anything.
Sure.
But then we'll send an email picture if they need us to or whatever. Then if they want it, then we write the order, pull the parts, pack them up.
And how do you price that? Do you look up the market price of every part, or do you just know by this point? Or
at this point,
have an encyclopedia in your head of what everything's worth.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I know what's hard to find. Yeah. Of course, hard to find stuff costs more money because I have to pay more money for those cars.
Yeah.
And of course, people think that, in an old car that should be, parts shouldn't cost hardly anything. Well, they need to be in this business and see what the other end of this thing takes to run.
Sure.
I mean, between insurance, regulations, taxes, all the stuff that it takes to be in business these days, insurance, I mean, health insurance for your employees, everything, it's very expensive to do this business.
So tell me more about the insurance part. Do you have to, what do you have to have insurance for? So for liability?
Well, absolutely, yeah. You have to have liability, product liability. I mean, you send something out and if it fails, I mean, you're kind of behind the gun on it. So
interesting.
Even
if it's like a rusty part of like a 1948 Studebaker? Like,
well, I mean, within reason, I mean, but I mean, it's just, the government comes up with new regulations all the time. Before we didn't have to have a license stand behind the counter and sell you a part. Well, now every person's got to be licensed. They charge you every year for that. I mean,
so what does that mean? So somebody who works here has to get a license?
Yeah, they have to be licensed through the state to sell the part over the counter.
Take a test, or what do they have to do?
No, they just want your money.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, I guess the death and taxes, right?
Exactly. Can't get away with me with one of them.
Sounds good. So what is something that most people think, what are some myths about, junkyards that are not true that most people believe?
Well, I mean, most people think, I don't know about most people, but, some people think they're out to get them or have to rip them off or something like that, they've always had, they've had bad experiences in the past, but sure. I mean, everybody wants you to send the part so they know what you're sending them. Right. I mean, I want to send them a good part. I don't want to send them something they're going to turn around and send back. I got to pay a man to pull it. I got to pay a man to pack it.
Yeah.
Waste my time selling it. I mean,
pulling is not always easy, right?
It is not. That's a big.
Sometimes they're like rusted in,
yes,
caked in, and
absolutely. And if it's a quarter panel, we've got to cut it off the car. It's all time consuming.
We just what do you do with a torch?
Well, I use a sawzall. We don't use a torch because that warps the metal. We'll use a sawzall or a chop saw.
Wow.
Depending on what.
But so if you use a sawzall, the part that it's attached to probably becomes unusable, right?
No, I mean, it's just, we'll cut it at the factory seams, then the next part we'll sell,
Okay, until you can sell both parts.
Yes.
Okay, but that probably takes some precision work to do
yeah,
that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It takes time. I mean, it's something that, it's not something just happens in 5 minutes. I mean, sometimes we'll spend a half a day pulling a part off for somebody.
I bet.
So I mean, it's not like all that money that they pay us is profit.
Yeah.
It's all overhead too.
Wow.
So
cool. What's the rarest car that you've seen come through here? I mean, I'm sure you see a lot of interesting stuff come through.
I have seen a lot of interesting stuff come through. As far as what the most rare car is, I to be honest with you, it doesn't come to mind. I mean, I've got, for instance, right now out there, I've got a 1940 Packard 160, which is a real rare car.
Wow.
When I first got it, I mean, it needs a total restoration. But when I first got it, when you get a car like that, first thing you think is, what is it worth? Well, so now you've got to come up with a value.
Yeah.
So first thing you do is you go to Google and you Google that car, see what's out there on the market.
Okay.
I could only find one car like it, and it was already restored, and it was $160,000.
So do you ever think, hey, man, I should restore it myself instead of...
Well, you think that, but no, I won't do that. Because I'm not in the restoration business. I don't have the people that can do that.
In the amount of time.
My guys are good at pulling things apart. They're not good at putting them back together.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to sell it to someone else and let them restore.
So you would probably sell that car as one piece.
Yes, because I have, if you go to my website, I have a cars for sale page and I have a parts car page.
Oh, okay.
The cars that are on the car for sale page are for sale.
The whole car.
As a whole car.
Yeah.
The ones that's on my parts car page are not for sale. Just the parts off the cars are for sale.
So how much is a Packard? Can I tow it out of my truck here?
Yeah, absolutely. You walked right by it coming in, but it's $69.95, I believe, is what it's on our website for.
Okay, so $7,000.
Yes, $7,000.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
So I mean there's plenty of room, but it needs a lot. I mean, it needs a total restoration, so it's going to cost you, depending on who does it, $50,000 to $80,000 to restore it.
Yeah. But then you walk out with a unique car that's
Absolutely.
worth $160,000.
Exactly.
Wow.
So, and it is all there. So
Yeah, I'm a little bit familiar with this kind of stuff from the world of guitars. So I make and restore some guitars. So sometimes you find old stuff, but it's a similar idea. I don't think. It's wild sometimes what something can be worth when somebody puts the time into to make it like new again.
Absolutely.
Cool.
My father-in-law had a Fender, a pre-64 Fender. I get that. I know what.
Well, a Stratocaster.
Or Stratocaster, yes. Yeah, Stratocaster.
That's right.
Had it since he was a kid, back in the 50s.
60 Stratocaster. Those are actually, I had on the show some folks from Austin Vintage Guitars, and they have, it's almost like a museum when you walk in there.
Yes.
Some beautiful, beautiful stuff. Yeah, 50s Telecasters and 60s Stratocasters have become incredibly collectible.
Yes.
Cool. Tell me about a time when things didn't go well. So I'm sure that you've been around long enough. I mean, I've been running my company for almost 8 years now, and there's been plenty of times when stuff went sideways. Tell me about a time maybe when you had a challenge, and what did you do about it?
Well, I mean, as you know, if you're self-employed, there's good times and there's bad times.
Sure.
And, fortunately for us, in this business, it's been a pretty steady ride. I mean, early on it was tough because we didn't have the inventory, paycheck to paycheck,
sure.
And all that. But, we've been pretty fortunate as we've got a good base of customers. We've taken care of our customers, or tried our best to, and have a lot of repeat business.
Yeah.
So even when things were slow, our business was steady.
Yeah.
So for the last 20 years or so, I haven't had any real bad years.
Okay. But what about like specific issues? I mean, have you ever had like an issue where like an employee that was difficult, we had to deal with that? Or
well, yeah, we've had plenty of that. I mean, anytime that you have people, labor that's out there, when it's hot, it's hot. When it's cold, and
you got to go out to the yard.
Yeah, and you still got to work. I mean, my guys still got to. The people still want their parts. They still got to pull them.
Interesting.
And
so what's the profile of somebody who's successful working for you? So you were talking about there's this romanticism of I want to work there, it's awesome, but then there's like the behind the scenes. So who have been your most successful employees, and what's made them successful here?
Well, I mean, we've been pretty fortunate that most of our employees we've had for quite a while, okay. And everybody's pretty happy right now.
Okay.
I haven't had anybody work for me more than probably 10 years or so at one time,
okay.
Something like that. I mean, unfortunately, this business doesn't make enough money that you're going to come in here and make a career out of it and retire. Probably me and my brother that own this place, only two is going to retire out of it because it doesn't make enough money to keep paying the bills. And we don't have kids that's coming up that's going to take it over and keep it running, I don't believe.
You don't think so?
No.
So let's talk about that. So I had a few weeks ago on the show, I had Steve Munoz, who's the last remaining typewriter repairman in all of Central Texas, because I love typewriters. And, But he was talking to me about how that's a dying art where not a lot of people see a lot.
Sure.
Do you see that classic car restoration and the interest in this is similar to that, or do you see like a younger generation of people who take an interest in this?
I can tell you right now that the younger generation is definitely taking an interest in this. We have kids coming here every day that want to walk around and look at old cars.
Yeah.
And just love them.
That's awesome.
I mean, they might be driving a Nissan, but they want to look at the Chevelle.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They know what classic
the
cars
1970
are.
SS
Absolutely.
or something like that.
Absolutely.
What do you drive?
Well, I drive every day. My everyday driver, I drive a 71 Chevrolet pickup. A 71 Chevrolet pickup truck, and then I have a 72 Corvette that I drive around there, and I have an 85 Corvette that I bought brand new that I still have.
Wow. Well, I did see actually there was one new car as you drive in. I think it was a Vet. That was on the main road right there, in between the old cars. It was like an '80s car that was in there.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I gotta ask about that one. That's awesome. What would you say? It's obvious they're beautiful, rewarding things about running your own business, and they're also incredibly difficult things. What would you say is the number one lesson or piece of advice that you've learned in your time running this company that you would put out to other small business people out there?
Treat your customers fairly.
Okay.
Don't put them down, and don't judge a book by its cover.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
Well, people come in here and someone comes in your office and they look like they can't afford a pot to piss in.
Yeah.
But they might be able to buy and sell the place.
Yeah.
You don't know that. People are people.
Sure thing.
Don't read them by just walking in the door. Take your time to talk to them.
Okay.
Treat them with respect.
And listen to them.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So, before you were looking at the questions and you were laughing with your brother as he was coming in before we started taping here. When you see like the question here, where do you see CTC going the next 10 years? And you were joking. You were saying, well, hopefully it won't be here anymore. Obviously, you were kidding. But where do you see CTC going? What's your what do you want to do with this?
Well, I'm 59 years old. My brother Alan is 63.
Okay.
10 years from now, I'm hoping that we'll be able to retire and someone else will bought this place and carrying it on.
Okay. So you want to find somebody who has the same passion for and drive for the business and that will continue. Now, do you see, what's your cutoff, 1970?
Well, we have some 80s stuff, but, because, there's still some of those on the road, but mostly what we look for is 70s and older.
Now, what about as obviously time goes on and all of a sudden we're 3 years away from 2020, and at that point a 1980 car is going to be a 30-year-old car, right?
Yeah,
so
but
what's the difference between those cars?
Well, that 80s cars are made out of plastic, and they're not making no new plastic.
Right.
For those cars, there's nothing to build. First of all, there's no style to them. They're all alike.
Yeah.
It's not like they were in the 70s and older.
Where every year in the 60s and 70s they would do a new model, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can look at a
maybe
Mustang.
2 years seems like.
Right, but you can look at a Mustang and tell which one's a 66, which one's a 67. The cowls and the door changed, right?
Yeah, every 2 years.
And the 68, the back gets bigger. 69, the back gets even bigger. And the 70 gets longer. Yeah. So that they don't do that like that anymore.
It doesn't seem like they do. But like I said, I don't pay a lot of attention to new cars because that's not my business.
Sure. So one of the big things I'm into audio equipment, so I have a couple of restored 1970s and 1980s pieces. But the newer stuff is much more difficult to restore. So what do you think are there any 80s or 90s cars that you think will become collectible and people will look back on this way?
There are a few. Like the Z06 Corvettes and things like that.
Yeah.
But they were high dollar when they were new too.
That's true.
So there's not that many of them. It's limited market. Like the Vipers and things like that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That was the early 90s, right? 1994, I think
exactly,
that came out.
94, right.
Yeah, and those cars are wild. I've never driven one, but I've heard that they're really hard to control. They're just kind of wild
like
beast.
a real race car.
Yeah.
No anti-lock brakes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the suspension is real stiff.
Yes.
And
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else that you want to share with people about your business? Where can people find you if they're looking for a part for their vintage car?
Well, they can go on our website at ctcautoranch.com.
Okay.
Of course, they can call us over the phone at 940-482-3007. We do mostly 70s and older cars. Most of our strong points from 1940 to 1970.
Okay.
And not just any one brand. We deal in everything: Chevrolet, Ford, Chrysler, DeSoto, Nash.
Do you deal with European cars at all?
We don't really do a lot in European cars.
So you don't have like old Alphas or Spiders? Or
Every now and then I'll get something. I have a few Mercedes laying around, things like
MGs?
that.
No?
I've had a few, but I don't have any right now.
Okay.
I don't look for that kind of stuff. That's not what we're into.
Okay.
You
So
know.
it's mostly American steel.
Yeah, but when we buy a group of cars, inevitably there's always one or two of those cars in there, and we'll wind up
Like
with
an
them.
Austin
And,
Healey.
yeah.
things
I got no '68 Austin American out there.
Okay.
I bought 25
Yeah,
years ago.
I was going to ask you, maybe I'll take a quick walk afterwards. Say, here, I have my puppy Muddy Waggers in the car. Maybe we'll go take a...
Right.
Do you have a junkyard dog or not?
I don't have a junkyard dog, no.
Okay.
We have a lot of cows here to keep the grass ate down.
Okay.
We have about 30 head of cattle here to walk around and
Yeah.
poop all over the place and eat grass.
Sounds good.
A lot of feral cats out there. They just keep growing and growing. But
Just hanging out.
yeah, but we're on that major highway, and if we get a dog, it winds up getting up on that highway and getting ran over. Because it's hard to keep 40 acres secured wwhere a dog can get out.
Right.
Do
Do you have a dog at home, and he's just not the junkyard dog, but he's like
Well, yeah,
Dave's home dog?
Yeah, I have. My daughter has some stay-at-home dogs.
Okay.
Right. But
Awesome.
But,
awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Small Business War Stories. Dave Williamson, it's been an honor.
thank you.
And I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to Small Business War Stories. If you enjoy the show, share it with a friend, or you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or on our blog at blog.proven.com. If you have an idea for us, we'd love to hear it. Please email us at podcast@proven.com. See you next time. Small Business War Stories. Small businesses are the soul of America. And this is where they tell their stories. I am your host, Pablo Fuentes.